Hey there, welcome to Concept Hunter. Today we're going to talk about Jumphobia. Get through the menus no, okay, and okay. And we can see that this game is by Wix from the UK. So this is a very standard platformer, but you can't jump. Instead, the unique mechanic that they have here is when you fall off the ledge, all right, the ledge of anything, really, or when you're left without footing, you will automatically jump. So I could just demonstrate that by falling off the ledge here, and my character automatically jumps. I'm just holding the left arrow key, and it just happens. And when we think about this mechanic from a level design perspective, I kind of get exactly two things. One of them is the special restriction that we have here, just the mechanic and how it works, and how we can construct the level where you have to figure it out of how I'll behave here and how my character will behave over here, and kind of create a puzzle level. And there's a bunch of those in the game, and those are actually my favorites. I feel that you're really using the unique mechanic, and they're actually pretty cool level that make me think a little bit, okay, how do I have to go through the level? What do I have to do with the mechanics that you put in here? And the other thing is, it's jumping. It's a platformer, so just standard execution-based platforming with everything that you've ever seen before, which is, there's a lot of things to platformers. And that, sadly, is the majority of this game, and something that I dislike a little bit, because you're not using the unique mechanic, and then it's just kind of platforming, which sometimes is good, and sometimes it's platforming. It's not special. It doesn't do anything really cool. So we're going to go through the tutorial, and it's going to be real quick here because there isn't much here. They're just throwing out the basic things, and later on they'll introduce more things. So the tutorial is kind of, you could cut it down and then actually use your mechanics in different areas, I feel, because you're introducing quite a lot, but in later stages you introduce more stuff. So you could just introduce really with 3 concise levels exactly the mechanics, instead of just throwing a bunch of stuff and then later more bunch of stuff and more bunch of stuff. So this is supposed to be the tutorial, so just stick to your unique mechanic. And here, you're introduced to spikes, so I can't actually jump, so I just, you automatically jump when you run off a ledge. Okay, I'm basically holding the right arrow key, and that's what I'm going to do in this level, which also introduces me to checkpoints, but basically, it's just more spikes and more jumps that I'm holding the right arrow key, I'm not doing anything. And here's the first part where I need to stop holding the right arrow key for a little bit and jump to the left, and then again, and then jump down the hole. So these 3 levels didn't do too much. Here we're introduced into moving platforms, which again are a very basic thing. And then after being introduced to moving platforms, we're introduced to more moving platforms. And again, you haven't done too much. Then there are monsters, which you're not really using. You're using moving platforms again. Here you're using the monster, which is awesome. And, standard monster, you bop on their head, you get an additional jump. That's pretty cool. And in this level, we're actually introduced to something that along with the monsters, these are falling platforms. You've seen this a million times before, but they react a little bit different, because from this game, once I don't have something, and I screwed the last jump up, once you don't have something, I have no idea what just happened there. Once you don't have something below your feet, you will automatically jump. So these crumbling platforms actually just make you jump when they go away, and that's something that ties in a little bit with the unique mechanic that we have. Basic jump pads here, nothing special whatsoever. And up to this, I think it was like 7 different screens, you could condense all of those into 3 screens, and that would be totally fine. That would be totally fine. It's just, I feel that there's a lot of fluff here. You're just repeating stuff just to fill in space, and I wish you'd really utilize more of the unique mechanic, such as here. This spot, you jump up to the right. Oh wait, I can't do that, so I have to fall off the left and then go to the right. This tiny little segment is the first part in the game where I really felt, wow, this is a cool mechanic. There's something cool here. There's something that makes me think, that does things differently than I'm used to in most standard platformers. And this is the magic. This is where I want you to do more of that. I want to see more of that unique mechanic that you have here utilized. This level, you just gotta go through. It's execution-based platforming. A little bit uses the unique mechanic, maybe here, but not really. This is just the standard wait for the bad thing to go away. And you actually do wait for the thing to move quite a lot, which is probably my most hated thing in platforming. Wait for the thing to move and then move through it. That's just boring. Waiting is never fun, and there's a lot of it in this game sometimes. This level, again, is kind of filled with standard stuff. You're not really utilizing the mechanic too much, maybe in the beginning area, but these are just basic jumps with a little bit of what you've seen before, a little bit of what you've seen before. Here, you move to, there's a moving platform, and this jump specifically irks me the most. because this jump, this is what platforming is about. Jumping between a billion spikes. Here it's just 4, but jumping between spikes, making that precision jump. In most platformers, the amount that you jump, the timing of your jump, these are things that you have to get a feel with. And that's what makes this difficult and interesting. I don't control the timing, and I don't control the height. And more to that, there isn't actually any spike collision at the left side of the bottom pillar. So I just hold the right arrow key and I'll be fine. There's no difficulty. This is like one of the most difficult things that people that are bad at platformers have a difficulty with. This is, you've just, in your game, this just doesn't work. You have to find different things. And here we're introduced to another mechanic. It's just gravity. And, you know, gravity is gravity, and that didn't work for some reason. Sometimes the edges are a little bit weird and a little bit FPS-y, but aside from that, it's gravity mechanics, you know? And I have to hand it to them. Here, one thing that I really, really like is the level of polish. See the blobs at the top? How they move and they kind of go back a little bit. I think that's really cool, and really the polish level of this game is really, really high, and something I really appreciate. I think that's really, really terrific. But I wish the level design had more thought into it. And a lot of the times, this is just really basic stuff. So this is, you know, you consume a resource, so did you leave enough of the resource to get back? And this part is flying through with gravity, which you've done in everything that has ever had gravity ever before. This part is just cute. I like it, but it's just, you know, very standard. There's just a bunch of levels. And here at the bottom, we're finally going to use a unique mechanic in which I have to go exactly on top of the platform, because otherwise I'm going to jump up and die. So this is a little bit difficult, and it's utilizing the mechanic. It's not very exciting, but it's because I have to, again, wait for the thing to come in. But that's pretty much it, and this is the last level of the tutorial. We can see that because there's a portal at the end, and it's just kind of going through the motion of a bunch of stuff that we've done, and nothing too unique or difficult to, like, not the end, like a boss fight at the end, the last level of the tutorial, something a little bit more difficult is not really there. So that was just the tutorial, and one thing that really surprised me about this game is the wealth of content, because there are 5 levels here. The bottom left is a tutorial, 5. You know, it's not a level, it's like a bunch of levels. And there was a lock at the bottom right of the screen, and I thought I'll finish these and maybe then I'll go to the ending and that's it. And what I discovered is that there's a bunch more levels, and there's another lock, and after that lock there's more levels, and after that lock there's more levels, and after that lock there's even more levels. There's a ton, and what they do is throw content. They throw progression in tons and tons and tons and tons of mechanics from every platform that you could ever imagine using this basic mechanic. But unfortunately, most of the time is not using the basic mechanic. It's just the standard stuff of platformers. And I wish you'd try with the level design a little bit more flow, a little bit more escalation of the challenge, introduce something, make it a little bit harder, make it a little bit more interesting, and maybe later utilize it because the player has already learned it. Instead, what I feel with this game is that you just took, let's write up on the board every possible thing about platforms that we could imagine, and just throw it at the player. Just throw it at the player for like 2 challenges or maybe 1 level, and that's it. And just keep throwing at the player. And instead of having consistency, we just have a wealth of content. Just all over the place. Aside from that, Jumphobia, it's a cool concept. I wish you'd utilize it more. This is by Wix from the UK, and that's it for Concept Hard. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.